What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the newest episode of the Believe in Oregon podcast. I'm Zachary, Neel. He is Jonathan Stewart. Jay Stu, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's Husky Hate Week, man. How can I not be doing good?
Huck the Fuskies.
Yeah, yeah. I believe you when you say it. There's some passion, some emotion behind those words.
Yeah, you want to know? Story time here, ladies and gentlemen. Out the gate.
Right off the bat.
So, growing up, I grew up in Washington State. Washington State, Palooza, whatever you want to call them, Cougars. And
Palooza.
UW, University of Washington Huskies. Everywhere you went, it was one of the two. There was no such thing as Oregon State or University of Oregon. And I didn't really understand why until I went to Oregon, to be honest. But growing up, I was watching, ACC schools, SEC schools, just because when you wake up, those schools are already playing football, right? So automatically just fall in love with guys like Peter Warwick, Ron Dane, just players that are not on the West Coast. So my knowledge of the pack started to grow towards me going to middle school, high school, and whatnot. And Safeway is where I used to work in high school. And the year that I was having to make this decision, I worked the checkout line. So everybody that came through, I've heard everything in the phone book. You need to go to Oregon. You need to go to University of Washington. You need to go to Wazoo, and this is why you should go to. And like, don't you dare pick Oregon. Don't you dare do this. Don't you dare. And then once I made my decision, man, you would not believe some of the hatred things that I've experienced or heard from people that I know in my hometown. How dare you go to Oregon? That's blasphemy. Shame on you. I hope you break a leg. I hope, like, just incredible things that you were talking to. You're talking to a high schooler,
17-year-old,
at a 17-year-old in a checkout line.
Yeah, he's
Isn't that
working.
crazy? Working. Yeah, 2005, 2004, 2005.
That's rivalry football, man.
But people don't take it. They take it serious. They don't take it lightly at all, as far as their loyalty to their college. And that's what's so special about rivalry week.
Yep.
It's around the Thanksgiving. Everybody's going to be full to their bellies and get a chance to have a Friday where they catch up on some sleep, and then lo and behold, it's football time for the rest of the weekend.
That sounds nice.
It's a wonderful time. That's the American dream right there. When you talk about American dream, that's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rivalry week.
We're going to talk a lot about Rivalry Week. We're going to have a fun game talking about rivalries here in a second. Before we get to all of that, though, I want to first apologize for anyone who tuned in or tried to tune into our live stream last night with Taisheem Johnson. Basically, the technology, we are told, completely crashed while they tried to get it going. So Jay Stu and I were left kind of just sitting here looking at a blank screen for 20 to 30 minutes waiting for it to happen. And they said, hey, we're going to cancel it. We'll try and reschedule in a few weeks. So stay tuned. We might be doing that show again in the future. If it happens, you will need to get new tickets where you can come on and interact with us and ask questions to all of us on the show and be part of the show. So, stay tuned. Sorry for the delay and all the confusion about that.
You're so courteous.
I know.
You're so courteous.
Had to get out of the way. We got fans that want to tune in. They dedicated part of their night.
I'm just letting the fans know that you are courteous. That's all.
All right. With all that being said, it is Husky Hate Week. After the bye week, we are now into the final week of the regular season, where the Washington Huskies will come to town with Oregon looking for a chance to go 12-0 for the second time in program history. You have played in this game. You know what it's like. You know all of the emotion that comes with it. What type of competitive fires have been lit in your chest as we get into this week and Washington is the next game on the schedule?
It's the battle of the Northwest, right? Whatever you want to call it, it's a battle, and it's been happening for years. Um, there's been some winning streaks that I was a part of.
Yes, sir.
Um,
12, I believe
and,
it was.
yeah, it was an amazing time. Being a guy that was born and raised in Washington, going down to Oregon, down I-5, and basically joining the dark side, and what a lot of people had said that I joined. But the dark side was the good side,
I think it was the
and
right choice.
we was whooping UW upside their head for a long time. And I want to get back to that. We are now in this, weird space where we've been losing to UW. And this year we can make it right, make it all right, right
Yeah.
all our wrongs right.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people that don't understand this rivalry, just know that if you wear purple on that day, you might get punched in the mouth, might get poached, you might get your wallet stolen.
This is tough for me too because my high school in Eugene, our color was purple. And so growing up, it was
Oof.
always like, and the school that we hated the most, Sheldon, was green. And it's like,
Oh
this is
wow, you had that's
I don't
reverse
like my closet.
osmosis.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good. Well, we're going to get to our Washington preview in a bit, but I want to start talking just rivalries with you out the gate. I personally
Hmm.
think that rivalries are what make college football so special. Just that
Yeah.
rivalry aspect. It's not really something you get as much of in the NFL, at least not to the same level. You don't have the fans from, neighboring area codes and just the alumni and the fan bases and the rowdy college students. It's not really the same in my opinion. Would you agree?
It's not at all. I totally agree.
So what I want to do is I want to play a quick game with you here where we're going to draft the top rivalries in college football just across the
Hmm.
nation, just kind of celebrate rivalry week, just look at some of the best rivalries in the nation. So I sent you a list of what I think are the top 15 rivalries. We'll see if you have any more to add to that list, but we're going to go back and forth, just kind of picking the ones that we think are the best. I am going to give you the first pick. So go ahead with your number one rivalry.
Number one rivalry in all of college football. You ready for this?
Yes.
I'm going to go Michigan, Ohio State.
Okay. See, I thought you were gonna go Oregon, Washington, but I'm happy that you went Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm being more realistic here. That the season's getting closer to the end, and
Shocker. Shocker.
we're number one in the world, Craig. So there's nothing for me to create any weird inflation or
I like
about.
it.
So yeah,
What's so special about Michigan, Ohio State to you?
um, during this time of the year, it's fall, it's winter, it gets cold. And just looking back at the history, right? There's so much history, so many good players that have come out of Ohio, so many good players that have come out of Michigan State or Michigan, um, Ohio State and Michigan. And, when you think about why you wanted to be a football player, a lot of it points back to players that have come out of those programs. I think about Eddie George. Eddie, I mean, there's so many players, but Eddie George to me, because I'm a running back and just how powerful he was, how explosive and just how large he was. It was like watching a superhero playing football in my mind. Um, and then, just the time of the year, the weather, you know what I'm saying? Like playing in the snow, playing when it's cold, and just the grind. It was the old school beat 'em up front, line of scrimmage, move the chains. It was just the grittiness that I fell in love with as far as, the game of football. And so when you talk about Oregon or you talk about Ohio State and Michigan, those rivalry games and the lineage and the amount of time that it's lasted, um, I just feel like that's the name of college football.
There's one game in college football that is known as the big game, and it's that one.
Yeah,
Like it makes
yeah,
sense that should be first off the board because that is an incredible game. The fact that Ohio State won't even speak Michigan's name, they call them that team
yeah.
up north. Like it's just that is everything that rivalries are supposed to be. I love it. I
Hmm.
am going to go the Iron Bowl, Alabama Auburn. I think that like it's the SEC version of the big game. I think when you look at all the history and Man, Bear Bryant. I think Bo Jackson. I think of Toomer's Corner with the diseased tree that one of the Alabama fans literally killed one of the biggest landmarks on Auburn's campus because of a game and went to jail for it and was happy that he went to jail for it because everyone knew that it was him who did it.
Yeah.
When you get to spitefulness in rivalries, man, you can look no further than Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Right.
I'll go next. I'm gonna go Texas, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the Adrian Peterson days, even, right? Like, again, just the excitement, the level of enthusiasm that you see on TV that you just wish you can be a part of.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that wagon that they twirl around on the field. Wish I can like be a part of that. Like, just growing up being a kid.
Always played in the
Riffing.
Cotton Bowl too.
Yeah, and it's just, such a good rivalry. What do they call that?
It's the
The
Red
river
River
rivalry?
Shootout. It's the Red River Rivalry now. It used to be the Red River Shootout, but they
Okay.
changed the name.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, these games go back, I mean, as far as where, football was first made, right? So,
Yeah.
you got to pay homage to, history when it comes to, rivalries, right? And that is one that is just, you know, top tier. I mean, it's Texas, and what Texas is all about football.
They love it down there.
They love it down there. That's going to a football game is like going to church. So, and then Oklahoma's right behind them. So
Yeah. All right. I am going to go USC Notre Dame. And I
okay,
just every time this one, I just think about Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. I think about the first ever tush push. I know Jalen Hurts took it over, but man, I think about the tush push with them first. It's a rivalry that's kind of stayed throughout conference realignment and everything. They're still playing it. They'll play it this week. It's a fun one. It's two of the, most historic, most classic programs in the nation in all of college football. That's a great one. I love that. USC Notre Dame.
okay. USC Notre Dame. Wow. It's so weird because I'm like battling where we are today and history.
Yeah, I feel
Right?
you. There's a lot of
'Cause,
really good ones on this list too.
like, because as far as, let me take a look. Because as far as like USC UCLA, like
Great
not
rivalry.
great rivalry, but
Not
are we
recently.
are we excited about the game? No.
Did you even know that they played last week?
See, I didn't know. Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Great
and
uniform matchup though.
great uniform
Incredible
matchup.
uniform matchup.
Yeah, great pictures from that game. Um, and then Oregon State, like technically, that's the longest tenured rivalry ever, right?
I think it's up there. I always forget. I don't think it's like the longest, but it's right up there. I'm gonna check while you talk.
But I mean, Oregon State to me is not necessarily a rivalry anymore either. I don't care what anybody says because Oregon State's just trash. Um, so like as far as like the rivalry, it's got to have that expectation of anything can happen, right?
Oregon State is the fifth longest rivalry.
Okay,
in the nation.
fifth. Okay, I knew it was up there.
It's definitely up there. It's like 128 times or something like that.
Yeah, and then I remember back in the day, like when Bobby Bowden, facing Miami Hurricanes, like that was like a game. That was like one of those things that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to watch Peter Warwick. You're gonna play offense and defense. And now it's like Florida State's bad.
Yeah, they're
And
not very good.
they've been bad, and Miami hasn't been great either. They're
Yeah.
good this year, but
No, are they?
so I guess my question is, do you rank them as high as what history says to rank them? Or do you rank them as what they are now?
That's all subjective, man. What's your list?
All right, so I'm gonna go Oregon UW.
Okay, all right, it's coming off the board. Oregon UW.
Because the hate is there.
Well, and when you talk about stakes and like this has the history, but it also has the recent importance. I mean, the last 3
Yeah.
games have been college football playoff deciding games. I mean, in
Yep.
2022, Oregon was on the road to the college football playoff. They lost that, then lost to Oregon State. Their season was
Yeah.
kind of over. Last year, 2 games that, decided everything. So, yeah, this is one of the best recent rivalries in memory for sure.
Well, I declared it, you justified it, and you clarified it. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
All right, I am going to go. You know what? I'm going to go Oregon State just because it's so important. I know it's not as much of a rival
It's not
anymore.
important. It's not
Well,
important.
hey, Oregon State won 2
Times
years
have
ago
changed.
and kind of
Times have
ended Oregon's
changed.
season. I understand, but if you're talking about rivalries and just, this is a heart pick for sure. We both grew up with this game, this rivalry.
Yeah.
So give little brother a little bit of love and get them on this list.
Yeah. Let them get something to eat too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go Texas A&M.
Oh, damn it. I wanted that one next. All right. Tell me about it.
Texas, it speaks for itself. It's a game of who's the best in Texas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And 2 very large programs that are very well financially supported.
Oil money.
And again, great players that have come from there. Johnny Manziel. You have again Ricky Williams, Jamal Charles, my boy Fozzie Whitaker. We have Jonathan Brooks. You know what I'm saying?
Brooks,
That
yeah.
is now a Carolina Panther.
Your guy.
But you can go way down the line, obviously, through history. My brain's not racking back into the 80s or 70s right now. But it's just one of those games.
Well, it's also one, I mean, we get this game now again because of conference realignment. With Texas going to the SEC, this game hasn't been played in, I'm pretty sure, 15 years.
Yeah.
And so they're playing again next week, and there's a spot in the SEC championship on the line. Winner of this game goes to the SEC championship game with a spot to get into the playoffs. So when you're talking about rivalries, I mean, like we said with Oregon, Washington, the stakes are there for this game. It's going to be incredible. I saw that tickets, like, I think they're the most expensive tickets to a regular season game this year. I think it's like,
how much was it?
I think it's like $750 to get in.
Good Lord. Well, you know what? You know who can afford it?
I think
Anyone
those people in
that's
Texas.
going to Texas and Texas A&M. Hey, Dad, can I get 7 tickets to the game?
Yeah,
sure, son.
Here you go. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to give me Florida, Georgia. What is this? The cocktail party? Is that what they call it?
That's what they call it?
Yeah.
The cocktail party.
I'm pretty sure it's the cocktail party.
I've got hammered.
Yeah. I've got family ties with Georgia. My dad went to Georgia. My brother was born there, so he grew up big Herschel Walker fan.
Herschel Walker.
This is a good rivalry for them. So I'm going Florida, Georgia.
Okay.
Your last pick.
Army Navy.
Okay. Getting patriotic on me.
Yeah, man. It's one of those games where I actually tune into. I'm like, oh, who's better this year, Army or Navy?
Well,
this is Air Force. You already know where
they
Air
have
Force
their
is.
own. They have their own week too. Like it's the Army Navy week after the conference championships. It's like, all right, this is a important rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, and it is patriotic, right? It's like a representation of our country, and almost like a salute to service, in my opinion. You got men and women that have chosen to go to a school, and basically get an opportunity to play sport and entertain. So, and very much so, deserving of an opportunity to showcase their talents, and see if they can make their way to the league.
What was cool too is, I mean, Army and Navy were both pretty good this year. I know that I think it was Army just got blown out by Notre Dame and Navy fell by the wayside. But there was a scenario earlier in the year where people were saying that there was a chance that, I forget what the exact scenario was, but those two teams would play each other for the regular season game and then have to play each other again the next week directly after that for the conference title game or something like that. So it just would have been complete chaos. But
Yeah.
yeah, Army Navy, good one. All right, my last one, California Stanford. It's just a good
Okay.
old West Coast matchup. The band is on the field. That was this game, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was Cal Stanford.
The
Yeah,
battle of the tree huggers.
yes, yeah. There's a lot of smoke going up down there in that game. Yeah, Cal Stanford. I think that's a fun one. Always a fun one to watch. Another really good uniform matchup, which I'm always a big
Mhm.
fan of. All right, you had Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, Washington, Texas, Texas A&M, and Army, Navy. I had Auburn, Alabama, USC, Notre Dame, Oregon, Oregon State, Florida, Georgia, and Cal, Stanford. That is our rivalry draft. All right, before we jump into our Washington preview, I know that you wanted to talk a little bit about Bucky Irving. Sir, the floor is yours.
Um, Ladies and gentlemen, if you not have been tuning in to the NFL lately, I advise you to do so. Um, Bucky Irving is making a statement in the NFL right now. Rookie running back, 5'9", uh, probably about 208 pounds. Who knows? But he is out here destroying defenses in the passing game, running game. He just what they played. They just played the Giants. Now
Mhm.
the New York Football Giants, they stink. Okay, they
Shocker.
stink. But you know, Bucky Irving is still making grown men look like little kids. He finished the game with 12 carries, 87 yards rushing. That's a 7.2 yards per carry, one touchdown. But the flip side, the thing that we knew that he was going to be when he got to the league, during the draft, I was thinking to myself, oh, he'll be a really good third down back, get him out in space, and whatnot. He had 6 catches for 64 yards.
Yeah.
And I love the way they utilize him, getting him out there on the perimeter in those passing situations. But more importantly, he is finding his way in the running game. I mean, outside zone, duo, downhill running, making one cut and getting upfield. But particularly this past weekend, I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
the play where Baker Mayfield got ahead of him and became a lead blocker.
Mhm.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
Um, you know, that play he sprung himself free by basically stiff arming someone on the sideline. But he has his way of finding the middle of the field, getting back to the middle of the field,
Mhm.
like with his cutbacks by running downhill, not losing any yardage or whatnot. But man, watching him play, watching his highlights, watching his film, I legitimately watch. I click on Bucky Irving highlights every weekend, or after every weekend, just to see how he played.
Mhm.
He's having a really good year, and very excited about him. And it's awesome to see him find success at this level because it's very hard to. A lot of running backs get put in bad situations and they can't find their way. But more importantly, he's been doing this without two of the starting receivers that have been banged up, Mike Evans and Godwin. Right, Mike Evans came back. I think this past weekend, or maybe the week before. No, this past weekend. But before that, he was still finding success without two top tier receivers. When you don't have two top tier receivers, that means you're filling the box, right?
Mhm.
And if you're able to run with a box that's full and find success, that means you have a good offensive line, but you're also a really good, talented runner. So shout out to Bucky Irving. Super proud of you. Proud that you're a duck. And so keep quacking.
It's super fun to see. I mean, he's not someone, his build, like you said, he's pretty small guy. We didn't think he was gonna succeed at the NFL level like he has, but he's kind of playing in the NFL like he played at Oregon. I mean, he's just so
Yeah.
shifty, he just gets through the line and just this
In my
contact balance.
in my opinion, he's way more efficient in the
Yeah.
NFL. Way more
It's
efficient. And that just goes to obviously when you get to the league, you continue to get better, right? You have to get better every year. And so that speaks volumes to his work ethic and his, attention to detail and commitment to his craft. So for all the young guys out there, especially, guys like Jordan James, right? Right now you're kind of under the radar, but people know your name, but no one's really talking about you. You got to use that as some fuel to continue to develop and work on your craft. After the season's over with, you got to figure out who you want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So kudos to Bucky being a great example.
All right, let's talk Husky Hate. This will be the 117th matchup in the history of this rivalry. Washington leads 63-48 with 5 ties. Oregon has won 15 of the last 20 games in this rivalry. Washington has won the last 3, though, all of them, which were incredibly impactful games. All 3 of those decided by 3 points. Stu, we know how much Dan Lanning likes to motivate his players. Do you think for this game they need any extra motivation past the fact that they're 0-3 in the last 3 meetings against this team?
I'll put it this way. Knowing who Dan is and knowing this team, the team doesn't need motivation, but they're going to get it.
Yeah. I can't wait to see how they get it, too.
Yeah,
Whatever he's doing this week.
Yeah, I hope he's over there just being a, like Pinky in the Brain. I'm cooking up with something that's just extremely just out of this world, because I love the behind the scenes footage that we've been getting.
It's incredible.
Of all the talks and the meetings, the intentionality behind who he is as a coach. It speaks volumes to who he is as a person. And his family is super lucky to have him. I can tell you that. Like to see a guy be able to lead a team, an organization, and build this culture that not just the team, not just the football team can resemble, but the rest of sports, right? And the rest of the college atmosphere. That he's basically being, the poster child, the poster man of who Oregon is as a whole. In my mind, that's the reason why Oregon State doesn't really matter.
You're gonna give me crap about that pick for a while now, aren't you? No, I've said for a couple years now, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. Dan Lanning is a psychopath, man.
Yeah.
And I mean that as the biggest compliment. He is an absolute psycho, and it's working for him this year. They're putting it all together. Let's look at the betting line. As always, these odds are brought to us by our sponsor, Bet Online. The Ducks are favored by 19.5 points. They're minus 1,000 on the money line with an over/under of 51 points. What are your initial thoughts on this game?
It's a tricky game.
I know.
That's the reason why it's a rivalry, because you can see the definition of a rivalry is you go into a game and it can go either way.
They always say throughout the records, throughout the spread in a rivalry.
And you definitely want to take that in consideration. I'm going to go under.
Okay.
I'm going to go plus 19. Is it 19.5? Yeah,
19
plus 19.5.
You think Washington's going to lose by less than 19.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. It's a new side for you.
Yeah, man, I'm a realist.
Are you scared, or are you realist?
I'm just being a realist, because this is the reason why. Because technically they don't have to win this game.
No, they don't. They definitely don't.
Depending on how this game goes out the gate, it could be a slap box. It can be, a TKO. It could be, all guns blazing. One of the things that you want to make sure you do coming out of this game is come out of this game healthy.
It's true.
And so that's the reason why, if we can go into this game and they lay down their swords, cool, we win. That's not going to happen. But that's just the mindset I'm going in. I'm going into this game. Yes, this rivalry absolutely matters, and you better show up. And if you're on that field, you better give your all. But as far as coaching, I'm not really sure where their headspace is.
See, I gotta push back on you here, because yes, technically they do not need to win this game. They can lose this game. They can lose in the Big Ten championship. They'll still be in the playoff, most likely. They have to win this game. Dan
Yeah.
Lanning cannot go 0-4 against Washington. He cannot lose to this Washington team of all
Yeah.
Washington teams. So I think that that's kinda I mean, I have no inside info, no idea. I think that's how they're treating this game. This is a must-win game. You have to win this game.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. They have to win
Yeah,
this game for all the reasons of the fact that this is a rivalry and we hate them.
yeah.
We hate their guts.
I mean, because
And
think of it this way, I mean, you could go on, I don't wanna throw this into the universe, but Oregon could go on and win the national championship. If they lose this game, though, there's gonna be an asterisk on that national championship.
yeah.
As much as you don't want to admit it, like,
Yeah.
it's just true. So you have to win this
All
game.
right. You twisted my arm. You twisted my arm. I rebuttal.
Okay.
Oregon, listen up. You go in this game. Everybody close your eyes.
Okay.
You go into this game, and it's a sea of green and yellow. And all of a sudden, you see these purple dots on your field. When you see a purple dot, just think to yourself, you're the Pac-Man. And you just gobble them up. And then you just keep on going. You smell that? It's blood. It's blood on your hands.
Okay. Purple blood.
On your hands. Purple blood.
I like it.
And you must go in there with one purpose, and that's to really stomp on their necks and beat them and play fast, play physical, because the moment that you let up, that's when things can get bad. Injuries happen when you play slow.
Yeah.
Injuries happen when you're trying to protect, the end result, which is getting to the national championship, getting to the Big Ten championship, right? You have to play fast. You have to be physical, do all the things that you've been told to do all year, and you should come out victorious and healthy. I want a victory and health.
Yeah. Yep. That's all you can ask for. I think my initial read on this, all year we've kind of wanted a little bit more from Oregon. I mean, I think the Ohio State game is the only game this year where it's like, all right, that's everything we wanted to see from this Duck team. Every other win has been like, yeah, they looked good, but they did just enough to win. I kind of think this is one of those games like Ohio State where we see everything from them because they, there's nothing left to hold back. This is the game this is the time of the year when you want to start peaking. We've been saying all year, we don't want to peak yet. They want to peak in November. You're getting to that time now. You just start peaking. We need to start seeing what you can be and be as dominant as you can be. So I think we see it this week. Let's get into some Duck calls and into our predictions. What is one thing, you kind of said it right there with the injuries and the win, but what's one thing that you want to see from the Ducks this week on the field?
I want them to, if they're going to play this game the right way in a rivalry, you have to go in there with a different mindset than you had all year. You can't go in there with the Ohio State mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You're going into this game with a disrespectful mindset, which means like I got a belt and I'm here to whoop y'all.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just want them to play fast. I want them to start out the gate and make no question why they're number one in the nation. And you talked about an asterisk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not have one of those, right? Let's make this chapter a good chapter and close the book on that behind. So,
yeah, you got to make this a blowout early. I think just assert your dominance from that first drive and go on, but you can't let up either. We've seen that happen. So
don't let up.
I want to
have 14 points at least.
I was just going to say, I want 2 scoring drives. I need at least 10 points. Yes, I'll go with 14 with you as well. We need points in the third quarter just to prove that you can do it. I believe you can. We all believe you can. Show it.
Yes,
show us.
You can.
All right, prediction time. What's one bold prediction you have for this game?
Bold prediction. We will have 4 rushing touchdowns.
4 rushing touchdowns. All right. Jordan James getting those. Noah Whittington getting those. Split them.
I think it'll be a touchdown by committee.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. At least 4. We
Okay.
could have 5, but definitely 4. And I'm just basically counting on the explosive plays this game. I feel like our offensive line will feel the responsibility for how this game is going to go. And we'll see that take effect and form. Because I think, as far as what we want them to do in the playoffs and their preparation to be national champions, you got to start putting things into works now. Because the last couple of weeks we've been kind of lenient, in our play. And it starts up front. Defense has been solid. I'm not worried about them scoring any points.
Well, they might be healthier on that offensive line too. There's seems to be a good chance that Marcus Harper comes back for this game, and potentially Tez Johnson and likely Jordan Birch. So getting healthy at the right time.
Yeah.
I predict that Oregon gets some revenge, not only for the last 3 years, but for that 2016 game that they lost 70-21. I don't think it's that big of a blowout, but I do think Oregon gets its biggest margin of victory since 2012 when they won 52-21. I think Oregon wins by 35 points. I've got this: Oregon 45, Washington 10. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to go 41. Nah. I think 34 to 17.
Okay, 34-17. Let's wrap it up there. We'll be back to you guys this weekend to
Hold on.
Oh,
I got more. I got a dad joke.
Okay, please tell me.
What did the duck say to the husky at the football game?
What did he say?
I'm not just here to wing it.
I'm going to do you a favor and cut that one out of the episode. No, I won't. All right, let's wrap it up there. We'll be back to you guys this weekend to wrap up the big game. It'll be either on Saturday night or Sunday morning. I'm not quite sure yet. Stu, do you have anything to add before we get out of here?
Nope, man. Just everybody have a happy holidays. The holidays is upon us, so just be grateful for all the things that you do have: family, loved ones, kiss your babies, eat some turkey, eat some yams, eat some collard greens, eat some dressing,
mac and cheese,
some gravy on top of it, some mac and cheese, and make sure you get more than one plate.
Oh yeah. Got to get the second or third plate.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you can check out more of my work at duckswire.usatoday.com. Follow me at Zachary C. Neel on Twitter. Follow Stu on Twitter at JonathanStewar1. Make sure to check out the Believe in Panthers podcast and the Stew and Crew podcast. For myself, Zach Neel, for my co-host, Jonathan Stewart, we'll chat to you guys next week. Until then, take it easy.